A common reason why people don't end up working with kids or are nervous to work with kids, especially from troubled beginnings, is because they are afraid that they aren't good enough. They're afraid that they're going to mess up. And the last thing they would ever want to do is cause more trauma. And they just don't know if they have all the tools that it takes to be trauma informed and really show up for a kid in a way that's going to be healing for them. So this is a main reason why people choose not to be foster parents, not to be mentors. And what I want to dive into today is the idea and tool of repair. Because what repair is, it's not just a tool for us to use when we've messed up. It's actually an essential tool working with children who have a trauma background, and it helps build relationships, and it also gives you something to look forward to when mistakes happen, because mistakes are going to happen. All right, this tool also will relieve you from shame or guilt that you might have about an interaction you've had with a kid, or a future interaction you have with a kid that you feel like you just didn't show up your best. It's okay. And we're going to use repair. In this month, I want to go through what repair is, what it looks like in action, and why it's actually expected and essential in trauma-informed relationships. I'm going to go ahead and roll that intro, and then we'll dive right in.
I'm Rebecca Britt, and this is the Stable Moments Podcast. I started this podcast to understand from all perspectives how we can help end the foster care crisis. The overwhelming response was we need to support our local communities. Unwanted, abandoned, orphaned children are the community's responsibility. We must support, guide, love, invest, raise up generations that will nurture, love, and support their own children to end this crisis. So, the purpose of this podcast is to build an army of people that are interested and willing to take responsibility of our foster youth and who are supportive of foster and adoptive families. This is the on-ramp for people who want to get involved but might not know where to start. I want this to be a place where community members feel like they can make a difference, where they feel good enough to make that difference, and believe that they can be a big deal in the life of a child. Thanks for being part of our community, and make sure to join the conversation in the Stable Moments Podcast Facebook group. Together, we can end the foster care crisis.
Welcome back to the Stable Moments Podcast. Stable Moments is a mentorship program for foster and adopted youth. We can be implemented at churches, schools, community organizations, equine facilities, and we have a whole certification program of how our model is just different and really sets kids up for success in developing life skills for them. If you're interested in the model at all, please go on over to stablemoments.com/webinar and check out our free webinar. Okay, so let's talk about repair. What is repair? When I am talking about repair as a tool, I am saying when something goes wrong, like that you did wrong or that the parent did wrong, that the parent goes in and acknowledges that and takes full ownership for it. And then the big part of repair is we tell the child that it wasn't their fault. Right? We tell them that was mommy's fault, that was daddy's fault, that was my fault as the adult, or just that was nobody's fault, but that shouldn't have happened to you, right? Because what do children do? They internalize when things happen to them that they just must be bad, that there must be something about them where people forget them, must be something about them where people want to yell at them, where people want to hit them, right? So in a typical loving, nurturing environment, parents typically do repair, right? So it's not that parents never yell at their kid or even spank their kid or haul off and hit their kid or leave their kid at the grocery store, right? These are things that can happen in loving, nurturing homes. But generally, parents go and let's say you did leave your kid at a grocery store, and then you realize it, you rush back and you go, oh my gosh, you find your kid, you scoop them up in a hug and you say, oh my gosh, I am so sorry, that must have been so scary. So that's validating their feelings. This should have never happened. I was not thinking right and I'm sorry. Basically, I failed you. You're taking the accountability. Mommy will never do that again, and I should have never done that. So it's like, it was my fault. It was because there's something going on with me that this happened, and I don't want you to take any of this on. This shouldn't have happened to you. And it's the same way if you yell at a kid, or if you just say something that's really crappy that like that wasn't right. I'm an adult. I shouldn't have said that to a kid. Typically, a parent will go back to their kid and say, hey, earlier was not my best. I should not have said that. It's not true. You're not a bad kid. You don't make everybody's life miserable. I was just frustrated in that moment, and that's what came out, but that has more to do with me. And you talk it through with the kid sees your perspective. You can ask, like, do you know that I love you? And do you know that you're a great kid? And sometimes we just have bad moments, and that was one of mommy's or daddy's or my bad moments. And then you can have that conversation, that resolution, and the child at least feels like somebody addressed it, acknowledged that it wasn't right. You laid an example of how you can do repair yourself. Like, hey, even when you make mistakes, you can go back and say you're sorry and acknowledge what you did wrong. That's something that the child can do too. So it's a skill or a tool that you're giving them. But at the end of the day, they're being told that things are not because they are bad. Things are not because of them. Okay, so in a loving relationship, even though things do go wrong all the time, people are not their best, parenting is a really hard thing to do, there is repair. And repair is what builds resiliency. Like, repair is what builds a good relationship. It was never like, be this perfect parent and you'll have this healthy kid. It was like, be a human who does human things, acknowledge the human experience, and your kid will be super healthy, and they'll understand that there's a human experience, and then they'll be able to give empathy and acknowledge their own things. Like, so that was the point. It wasn't like, oh, you did bad, so you need to repair, so to hopefully save this child's psyche. I don't see it that way. I see it as we're all going to be human, and we all need to learn this kind of like acknowledgement, accountability, conflict resolution, where we say, hey, I'm taking that. I am not leaving you with that, because I might have given it to you if I yelled at you or had a poor response or didn't validate your feelings or abandoned you or forgot you or whatever. But I'm not leaving you with that. I'm going to come in with repair, and I'm going to make sure you understand that I'm not perfect, and it's not right for me to impose what's going on with me on you. Okay? And in general, this had nothing to do with you. You are a great kid. Okay, so that's what repair is. Repair is literally taking ownership, accountability, letting a kid know that it's not their fault. And yes, a kid in a household where they're being abused may not have any repair, right? So they might get beaten or talked to, you're worthless, I wish you were never born, things like this. And then nobody ever comes back to tell the child like that was rough and I shouldn't have said that. Like they believe it and they're going to keep saying it. And so not only because we know from research on childhood trauma that you don't need to say to a kid they're not worth something for them to believe they're not worth something. We have evidence that shows that a child at 3 months of age that's crying, that needs to get their diaper changed and needs to be fed, they cry for so long, and when nobody comes, they already start to believe there has to be something wrong with me, why I'm not getting my needs met. So kids feel worthless just because of how they're being treated, let alone if there's a child being told, you're worthless, you'll never amount to anything, why do you always cause problems in this house? You shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have told your teacher that, like whatever. And they're being like put in a position where they actually need to like make their parents' life better, that they should be responsible for their parents' happiness. So that's a whole nother side of this when a child isn't getting repair, but how far it can fall into, wow, I am just a piece of crap. Like I'm not worth anything. And nobody's telling me any different. And now I have to live with that. And that's really heavy. So when we come into these children's lives, that is why mentors and foster care parents and people that want to serve these kids, their biggest concern is like, I want to have the right response. I want to have the right trauma-informed response. And trust me, I want you all and myself to have the right trauma-informed responses. There are responses that make me go, ooh, I don't love that. But I would never want a person to not enter into mentoring or fostering because they're afraid they won't do it right. In fact, the person that's afraid they won't do it right is showing how aware they are that they need to be intentional and cognizant of how they respond and interact with these kids, which I feel like is good enough, the number one quality we need, right? Repair is your opportunity and kind of your promise that you have a tool for when you do something wrong, when you mess something up, when you have a response that didn't sound good to you or wasn't by the book or wasn't trauma informed. You have a tool that you can use. And what I want you to think about is that this isn't a tool that like, oh, gotta pull in the repair because I just said something that was out of left field and now I have to have this conversation where I take accountability and it needs to be this whole thing. No, I want you to look at repair as an essential part of the relationship you have with anyone, but with a child, because we are human. We are going to not be perfect. And you know what? Trust me, the child doesn't want you to be perfect because they don't think they're perfect. They want to see an adult that is human, that can make mistakes, that can acknowledge those mistakes. What children with early childhood trauma have is this fear that things are not okay when mistakes are made because there is never repair. So when a mistake can be made, whether it's by the child or by you, and then you show how you resolve that, and you show a child it's not the end of the world, and it doesn't mean I'm leaving and going away, and it doesn't mean that you're never going to be able to come back to this program. It's just like, dude, it wasn't a big deal. And I should have showed up differently. And hey, we all have bad days. When we can do that enough times, so you got to mess up a lot to be able to do this a lot, to show the kid that you're there regardless. And yes, there's going to be good days and bad days, and there's going to be good responses and bad responses. And sometimes we're going to get it right, and sometimes we're going to miss the mark. And that's kind of like the whole point of what we're offering the child. So we have to be willing to like not be perfect. We have to be willing to see opportunities for repair as something really positive, as an opportunity to show a child this isn't the end of the world, and I promise you that. And I know in the past for you that it might have felt like the end of the world. But what we're doing in building resilience is a child that's been, their worth has been worn away, and they've learned that they're not worth repair, and things are their fault, and they're a bad kid, and everybody's life is worse because they're alive, and all of this. We're slowly, with these mistakes we make, let's say we say something that is out of frustration, and we go, hey, you know what? And it doesn't matter if you say it 5 minutes later or if you wait till next session, because some of us, of course, right in the moment while we're frustrated, aren't going to be like, that wasn't my best. It's usually like while we're laying in bed that we're like, I don't like how that came out of my mouth. And instead of just going, well, I'm just going to make sure next time is really special. It's like, no, start next time off with, hey, last time I said something that stuck with me and I didn't like it, and I don't even know if you're still thinking about it, but this is what I want you to know. And it's allowing that worth that has eroded for you to go, here's a mistake, here's a repair. I'm still here. I still think you're a great kid. Are you willing to continue working with me? Because I want to continue working with you. It's allowing the child too to opt in over and over again to this relationship. And when I was thinking of like why repair is so essential, not just a tool we use, I can't get that across enough, but essential to human relationships, I was given this vision of a spider web. And the spider makes this beautiful web, right? And they just diligently, methodically working to make this very symmetrical web. And along the way, it gets destroyed or blemished or damaged by different things in its environment. And the spider just immediately goes to where the web is broken and repairs those pieces of the web. And in the end, the web is this like beautiful, intricate, not symmetrical, but beautiful because of all the scars and the blemishes. And you couldn't have thought that up. The spider would have never built the web the way that it did, but the way that it has jagged edges and different surfaces and how intricate this thing is because of the repairs it had to make. And the repair made it even more beautiful in the end. And this is how I feel relationships are. Relationships, true, honest, non-transactional, unconditional relationships is we do mess up. And it's a hallmark of a trusting, honest, beautiful, deep relationship isn't harmony all the time, right? It's like stick-to-itiveness. It's, hey, I know you. You're allowed to mess up because I know you and I know your heart and I know your soul. I know that you're good at your core and I love you. And I love you for that. Who would we be if all of the friendships and relationships we had only liked us when we were a certain way? No, like that's the whole point is like, can you catch me when I fall? Can you encourage me when I fall? Can you not judge me? Can you see where I'm coming from? Can you empathize with me? Those are all hallmarks of a good relationship. And the only way that that's built is through mistakes, through not having your finest hour, through going through trials and tribulations together and having a good response in that. Okay, so that's why I feel like it's essential because that is what relationship is. It's like this web of we've been through a lot together and I still honor them. I still want to spend time with them. I still show up. And that will shift a child that is used to having people not show up for them or not feeling like they're worth showing up for. That will shift their perspective. And that's why we see that it's one intentional long-term relationship is what builds resilience in children with high ACEs scores or adverse childhood event scores. What they need is somebody that just sticks with it, sticks with them through it. Somebody that showed they were worth it, right? Showed them that they mattered. Okay, so let's just talk quickly about a couple examples, right? Because if you're a foster parent or a parent, this might be real obvious. You might be messing up all the time. And I just say that because I'm a parent and I have said things I have a very rambunctious 7-year-old, and I have said things to him that I don't know where it came from. Like, I'm like, that is my childhood wounding, or God, I just sounded like my mom. And it sounds mean. It sounds downright like, I do have guilt and shame for what I've said sometimes. And I remind myself about repair. So in that, yes, you can say things that you're like, that was really wrong. And instead of having the guilt and shame, just know, yes, oh boy, this is a new opportunity for me to go do repair. And you go you go to the child and you say, exactly what I said before. Hey, that was not my best. And I hope you know that you are not a bad kid. I didn't mean what I said when I said you just make things miserable for everybody. You don't. That has something to do with me. And I get frustrated. And I've had great conversations with my kid about why I'm frustrated and how he gets it. And I promise to try to do better, and that's where we leave it. But we've had this good conversation, and we'll continue to have those conversations. And I've noticed as a parent that the more you do this, the more confident you get in being able to have it not be the end of the world for you either, because you can be a mentor or a foster parent or a parent, and you can be like, oh my God, I was going to be the parent that never said things like that to my child, and now I've ruined it all, right? And it's like, no, you're human, and you get to do repair, and the child's actually better for it. They wouldn't be better if they were just raised in a home where everybody said the perfect thing all the time, because that's not humans, that's not real life. And when they have their first relationships or their first jobs or whatever, that's not going to be the case, okay? So being able to handle other people's responses around you and not internalize them as it must be me is huge, right? Even us as adults, when our bosses are having a bad day and say things, we can take those things on as like, oh, I'm not a good employee, or I need to work harder. And that might be something completely going on with them. So being able to know your worth, know your value, know when you're doing good enough and have that be good enough, and not have everybody else's emotions, reactions, responses to the world affect how you feel about you. That's huge, even as adults, right? So that's what a repair allows you to do. Now, if you're a mentor or a program director, I imagine that you're not flying off the handle all the time like a parent might. Parents are just with the children all the time. You have 1 hour, but there are definitely times when you're going to have a response that you didn't like. An example would be like a mentor, like a child acting like they didn't want to be there, and a mentor being like, man, I take time out of my day every Monday to come and see you, and you don't even like being here. I mean, I don't know if I should keep doing this. And like, oh, as the founder of this program, that's like, yeah, I hope you don't say that. But I get why you feel that way. I get you thinking, maybe I shouldn't have become a mentor because this kid doesn't even like me. I get that. I hope you share that with the program director. Program directors, I hope you share that with me. But if you do say something like that, this is a great time for you to tell the program director. You guys can talk together, but you can tell the kid next time you see them, or even later on in that moment, hey, earlier I said if you weren't going to participate that I didn't know if I was going to keep coming. And that is, I don't know where that even came from. I'm committed here for 10 months. I'm going to be here whether you're here or not. I've committed to this time, and I really like what I've gotten to know about you so far. I think I got frustrated earlier. I want us to have a relationship. I want us to have fun, but I get that you're just meeting me, and for you that this might not be fun. So if you can help me understand like what fun looks like or what you want to do, like we can think out of the box. We don't need to do these specific activities or whatever. Like I'm interested in getting to know you. We have this hour together for the next 10 months. So what do you say? We fill it up. And please never think that I'm considering not coming. I don't know where that came from, but that's not true. And I'm not going to leave you. I'm committed to this time here. Okay? So you can say it. I don't know where that came from. That was frustration. I'm not leaving. And this is a big one. If you do say, God forbid, you say something about, I don't know if I'm even going to come back. Like you have just proven to the child exactly what they know. People leave. And that's why they didn't get connected to you in the first place, because they thought you were going to leave, and now you're showing them. So I will get off my soapbox, but yes, don't say anything about, I might just abandon this situation, because that's what they're pushing for, to see what will make you break. So just saying, I'm going to be here and we can do whatever, and then show up with your actions, right? Because repair is not great when you just keep saying sorry. We all know this, right? You keep saying, oh, I shouldn't have said that. You're a good kid. And then you say, you're a bad kid 3 more times the next day. And then I shouldn't have said that. You know, you're a good kid. It's like, well, you kind of say that I'm a bad kid as much as you repair. So like, what is it? Okay, so you want your repair to be authentic. You want your repair to have a level of follow through to it. So if I were to say, I'm just going to show up the next 10 months, so I'll be here. I hope we can make it fun, but I'm here. Whatever you want to work on together, or what would be, fun for you, activities you want to do, like, I'm down for exploring it all. So the level of follow through with that would be, let's say next session, they're still not into it. They're still kicking their feet and they don't know what they want to do. That would be you being like, okay, well, I'm here whenever you want to do something. I've got these couple activities out that I think would be fun. I'm actually going to start working on this one. If you want to join me, you can. Otherwise, I just want you to know I'll be here. The next session, they don't want to do anything with you. You do the same thing because you're showing that you're just going to be there. What you don't want to do after the repair is the next session, they don't want to do anything. And you're like, you're making it really hard for me. I told you I'd be here, but what are we going to do? Just sit and do nothing the whole time? I mean, it's like, chill. You need to allow the child to see that you are going to show up. Even if you didn't say anything that was contradictory. And now that you've said something that's like, I don't even know if this is worth me doing, now you really got to make the child believe that you're going to show up. So you have to follow through by just showing up and being in a good space about sitting there doing nothing, or doing an independent activity and inviting them in if they want to. And I have seen this happen several times where it was like even 6 sessions that was like that. And then they started to trust, and then they started to build a relationship, okay? What I want you to walk away with today is that you are going to mess up. We have our trauma-informed responses cheat sheet. I will put the link right here. I think it's stablemoments.com/responses. And that is a great cheat sheet for you to have a trauma-informed response to things kids say. But you're not always going to have a great trauma-informed response. And what I don't want you to do is beat yourself up. What I want you to do is go, oh, this is one of those situations where I can take accountability and show a child where they model, where they can also take accountability for mistakes that they make, and that they're not the end of the world. And that this is how human relationships work. That I'm not expected to be perfect. You're not expected to be perfect. And we can acknowledge where we go wrong, but it's even more about a conversation. It might be like, I said this, and I realize that could be taken a lot of ways. This is what I meant by it. I'm just wondering, like, how did you feel when I said that? Or I hope that didn't catch you off guard. And just see what the kid says. See what their response is. Those are like deep relationships or deep conversations you can have that build a relationship that, instead of just thinking in your head, because that's what we do. We say things and then we drive home and we're like, why did we say that? I hope they're not still thinking about it. Trust me, they're not still thinking about it. But I hope they're not still thinking about it. And I'm wondering and maybe I treated it. It's like, have a conversation. Go back and be like, when I said this, was that weird for you? Or now, if you're wondering if you triggered past trauma and it's going to bring up a whole bunch of stuff, then you can talk to the program director about your feelings and about that conversation and whether or not it's one you have with the child. But you can always say sorry. You can always blame yourself. I got frustrated. I didn't understand. I was feeling off that day. It has nothing to do with you. And I love my time here, and I'm going to be here, and I hope we can work past this. And please let me know like how that made you feel, and have that conversation so that you can get practiced at it and then start feeling good about how many things you and this kid can get through together. And I'm telling you right now, you are really just building it way past your relationship, but onto how they handle relationships outside of the program or outside of your relationship. I hope that was helpful. If you want to check out our webinar, it's at stablemoments.com/webinar. And thank you so much for being a big deal in the life of a child.